My name is Van Thomas. I actually live here in Springfield, but I was born and raised here, but I left and lived in Boston for a while, and I came back to Springfield in 2009.
What does it mean to live with a CORI as a Black man today?
In my experience, what it meant, I was working at Mass General Hospital, and I had a very good job. And like I said, I had an altercation with one of the employees where he actually told someone I had a gun. So when I came into security, they said, well, you can't come back to work here because you lied on your application. We show that you have a CORI. And I was like, what? I don't have a CORI. And they said, yeah, you do. You lied on the application. So when I went and checked, it was a CORI, but it was someone else's social security number, but they linked it to me. So I lost that job. And that was an excellent job. I lost that job, and then I kind of struggled to find new work. I ended up doing short order cooks, but I have management experience. I was one of the food service managers at Mass General. So that was a big deterrent in my life. That just, that was just so different. It's I was getting paid $18 an hour back then. Could you imagine how much I'd be making now? So I'd be rich, I'd be wealthy.
Did you officially have a CORI, or was it tied to someone else?
No, it was actually tied to me. But what they were telling me, it was the wrong social security number. They said I lied about my social security number. But when I got to the office, where was I? The courthouse in Boston, we looked at it, and I could see the charges were actually mine, but they were real old. This was 2006, and the events in my life happened in 1974. You know what I mean? And they were holding that against me. So that was pretty difficult. And actually, it was shocking. It's how can you hold something against me? That's 20 years ago at the time. It's
Did having a CORI impact your housing?
Well, I was actually living on subsidized housing on Beacon Hill. I actually lost that apartment, and I was paying $400 a month for rent, on Beacon Hill, and that's one of the richest neighborhoods in the world. But
if the CORI process was revised or not taken into account for housing, what would that have meant for you?
Well, it would have been easier to have apartments. I would have been able to stay in my apartment. Actually, it was such a detriment in my life that me and my son had to separate. I had to leave him in Boston. He was only 18, and come back to Springfield. So I didn't want him to go to a homeless shelter with me, you know what I mean? So I was actually homeless, sleeping in my truck, for about 6-7 months. And then I decided to come home to my mother. My mother lives here, so she has a house, so I actually moved into her house, which makes it easy. I haven't actually had to apply for housing, even though I put in applications, but they never called me back because my mother was the landlord, so thank God for that.
If you had the opportunity to speak to the policymakers about the impacts of a CORI, what would you say to them to convince them to do something different?
What would I say to them? Well, definitely needs to be changed. Like I said, it's that CORI actually was 20 years in my mind. It's that shouldn't even be on my record. It was so old. If I would actually tell them to review the CORI, how they come about using it for various different things. Like I said, I haven't had to go to housing, but I have applications in, and now you're making me wonder if that's why they are not, answering my applications, though it's inactive. I have a copy of the record, but still, it's I don't know, what they're actually seeing when they put me in for a CORI. It's supposed to be non-existent, but I don't know if that's true. So I would actually tell them to work further. Like you said, I learned how to navigate this thing on my own. But when Richard came, he asked me if I would be willing to lend my voice because I was an activist in Boston for other things. So yeah.
How did you go about the process of navigating it on your own?
What did I do? I don't know how I actually got there, but I think I just walked into the courthouse and said, look, I got a CORI. Tell me about it. Where is it? And they showed it to me. I said, I need to have it removed. And they did all the documentation. They gave me a list of what the charges were. And it wasn't until I went to, I want to say it was, I can't even remember what it was. I want to say Mass Health, but it's not Mass Health. It's the agency that helps you. They actually helped me go back to college, So that's about it. It's like, and for me, it's like I have to be confronting them myself, in order to tell them what I feel, And like I said, I have a copy of the CORI, and I can show them all I had to go through. I mean, it still took like 4 years after, for it to be removed, but it's supposedly removed now, so I'm pretty content.
How did it make you feel when the CORI had impacted you after a large period of time?
Number one, I was like, I don't know, I want to say I was insane, but I wasn't insane. But, it was just devastating. I mean, like I said, I had a really good job. Mass General just pays you top flight money. So, I was devastated when I walked out of security and they said, well, you have a CORI. It's like, I got to find out what you're talking about. And you know what I mean? And it turns out that one of my brothers actually used my Social Security number. And I had some little incidents with the police, and I had a little record, but that was like 1974. And here we're talking about 2006, That's like a long time. So yeah, I was down. I was down in the dumps. I didn't know which way to go, but I figured it out.